Hi, welcome to Commissioner's Corner. I'm Commissioner Charlotte Garrido. I'm here in beautiful Long Lake Community Park in South Kitsap, and we're going to talk about something unrelated to parks. We're going to talk about energy efficiency. That's a topic that's getting a lot of attention in Kitsap County these days. And Kitsap County, it has some new and evolving practices of our own, and we're becoming more and more aware of some very innovative companies across Kitsap County that are involved with energy efficiency methods and techniques. So we first began to get involved with the whole idea of energy efficiency in a solid way when the ARRA, the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, was passed in 2009, and that was, I believe, in February of 2009. By March, the county commissioners adopted a resolution that said, Kitsap County endeavors to stimulate the local economy by assisting in the creation of local, sustainable green jobs that will have an impact in Kitsap now and into the future. We spent quite a bit of time talking in-house and within the community about what green jobs and stimulus would mean to Kitsap County. And over a period of months, we began to evolve that we had three areas of interest for us to work on. The first was green building, the second was clean jobs, and the third was the whole idea of a food system, a food chain as we called, and how we could grow more local foods here in Kitsap County. When I talk about green building, I'm talking in terms of weatherization, low impact development, renewable energy construction, and even reductions in water use. But we have some wonderful and fascinating companies, especially in the area of clean technology here in Kitsap County. In terms of renewable energy, I'm talking about solar, wind, geothermal. But electric mobility is one that we have quite a bit of attention to. And companies like Evergreen Electric or Manzanita Micro are doing some very, very interesting things. In the Works is a company that's dealing with emission reduction technology, and they have created a very energy efficient catalytic converter that can be used on boats to reduce the emissions, toxic emissions from boats. Smart Grid, there's a company called Distributed Energy Management that's doing some consulting on some very intelligent smart grid recommendations. Probably the one that I spend the most time with is the Kitsap food chain, which is looking to enhance our Kitsap County food system. How much can we grow locally? And when we talk about a food system, we're talking in terms of food consumption, food production, food distribution, value added, how you change the raw materials to have something that adds value to that material. And increasingly these days, we're seeing that composting and waste management is an important discussion in the energy efficiency of producing our own local foods and buying locally here in Kitsap County. So as I said, Kitsap County has begun to coordinate in these areas. We're building partnerships where partnerships had not existed before. We're fostering training and education opportunities for green jobs in Kitsap County. And we in Kitsap County government are trying to lead by example so that we are looking for improvements that we in Kitsap County government can, how we can reduce our own energy consumption within government. And we want to harness some untapped energy sources. And so we're looking especially at methane that is available through sewage treatment plants. And we know that West Sound Utilities is doing some pretty interesting things with wastewater reuse in Kitsap County. As I said, the ARRA became effective in early 2009. That's usually called the Stimulus Act. Kitsap County received $2.29 million, or actually I can't say received in 2009. We were awarded $2.29 million for energy efficiencies in Kitsap County. And the two major goals that we were asked to fulfill for the federal government Department of Energy were that we would build partnerships that hadn't existed before and that we would create jobs, and especially green jobs in this area. So the upgrades in county facilities that we're looking at and are underway even as I speak are at the courthouse, which is an older building many of you are familiar with. It was built in the 30s, added onto and refined in the 50s, and again in the 1970s. So we learned quickly that one of the most energy efficient practices that we could put in place was to replace all the windows in that building, which are still single pane windows with double pane, and that we would actually, by replacing those windows, save in terms of energy $31,500 per year. We also are looking at the Kitsap Pavilion and the Kitsap President's Hall at the Silverdale Fairgrounds, and realized that there were some places that we could save some energy there too. And the most efficient practice that we looked at is just replacing the lighting with high efficiency lighting systems in each of those buildings, and that would give us another $34,000 a year in savings. We're still considering whether to put solar on the roof at the pavilion, but we are going to put some solar panels on the roof at the courthouse because we know that we can be heating some of our hot water with solar panels there, and that they will work quite nicely. So we know that we're significantly reducing our energy use, and that we're also reducing our carbon emissions, and that we will recoup entirely the costs within 10 years, and probably much sooner than that, by just these simple practices. But why don't we take a break to look at a couple of other local companies, and I'll see you in a minute. Welcome back. We're here in Long Lake Park today, and we're looking at these big belly solar trash compactors. They're really attractive, and these beautiful side panels have been designed and provided for us by Leader International, a South Kitsap company. And we have Rick Flaherty with us today, who's going to tell us a little bit about these side panels.
Hi Charlotte, how are you?
Great, how are you?
What can I answer for you about these panels?
Well, how difficult was it to make these, and thank you for putting the county logo on them.
You're welcome. The first part, whenever we do artwork like this, is we have to get the specific art outlined, and we do that in a CAD program. The critical point of making any of the artwork is to make sure that it'll hold together once it's cut, because we're knocking part of the metal out to get the design. So we spend a lot of time figuring out what will work, what won't work. Stainless in and of itself is an easy type of metal to cut, and when you're done, you don't have to clean it up or anything. But the critical thing is to add in, as you see, there are different points here, to make sure we don't drop particular parts of the art. That was especially true when we cut out the boat. And without cutting the boat and the mountains and the water specifically and tying them together, the metal would be very floppy. So this was a fun project, and Jim Poss came to us, knew that we had a laser, asked if we might be able to do this, and I think we came out with a pretty neat project for you.
Well, I think they're a high quality project, and they really reflect well on your company and on Kitsap County, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, we want to learn a little bit more about these big belly solar trash compactors, and Jim Poss, who is the president of the company, will tell us a little bit more. I just wanted to tell you that he tells me that the philosophy of their company is that compaction is cheaper than collection. So let's hear from Jim.
My name is Jim Poss. I'm a Kitsap County resident and founder of Big Belly Solar. The Big Belly is about the size of a normal trash receptacle, but it holds about 5 times as much. It reduces the frequency of collections, saving truck miles, fuel, and time. It looks kind of like a mailbox. It's got a solar panel on the top, and that solar panel charges a battery. The battery runs a microprocessor, a brain inside, that makes decisions about when to compact and when to alert the staff that it needs to be collected. Everything runs off of a battery, so the system runs at night or in periods of inclement weather. And here in the Pacific Northwest, we do get some weather. So fortunately, the machine is efficient enough to run throughout the year, night or day. The idea for the Big Belly came from an observation that I had many years ago. And I decided 7 years ago to start a company around it. That observation was that garbage trucks are loud and inefficient. And trash typically fills up trash cans and overflows. Animals get into the trash and spread it throughout the parks. So I set out to solve that problem. And with some know-how in the electric vehicle space, I already knew how to put a motor and a gearbox and a battery pack and a solar panel together to make things move, make vehicles move in that case. But I had this concept pretty solidified in my head that I could make this work. And so I set out, made a prototype. I raised some money from angel investors, and I sold the first unit to Vail Ski Resorts back in 2004. The company has exported the machines to 25 countries, and they're also here at home in 46 states. Major cities around the country have them. Our largest installation is in Philadelphia, where we've installed about $3 million worth of equipment, and we're going to save that city about $13 million.
Another great company is Watson Furniture. They've been in Kitsap County for more than 50 years. Actually, since 1960, their same standard has been an unwavering commitment to advanced design, quality manufacturing, high customer service, and environmental responsibility. Let's take a look at what that looks like.
My name is Greg Hoyster. I'm with Watson Furniture Group. I'm one of the plant managers here at the Paulsbo, Washington facility. We build office furniture for the contract furniture market. Some of our clients include Nike, Boeing, to name a few that are familiar. So today we're going to look at some of our different processes we use and how small of a footprint they put onto the environment. So it'll give you some understanding of what a green manufacturer is. One of the first things we start with when we build a desk is the desk top itself. And we take substrate like a particle board like you'd find at your home center. And customers can order any variety of colors of decorative laminate that goes on this top, very similar to like a kitchen cabinet situation. And in order to laminate all this, we've developed a process that doesn't involve the use of any glues that emit harmful gases while they cure. And so we use a PVA glue, like you see here. And then the boards are run through a machine called a roll coater, and it puts a thin layer on both sides. And then the operator will essentially build a layup, basically stacking the laminate and the boards dependent upon the requirements, and get that ready. And then it gets rolled into something called the cold press, where it stays in there for a certain period of time so it can bond, and then it gets shot out, and then it'll get moved off over to the machining centers where we'll cut it into shapes. Now we're at the CNC router step of the process, and we're going to take all the board that we laminated up with the different customer laminates, and we're going to use what's called nested base manufacturing, and we're going to take a whole bunch of different customer orders with different shapes, and we group them onto the material in order to get the minimum amount of waste possible. And so the operator will lift the board onto the bed of the router and run his program, and it'll cut out all the different tabletop shapes from the board. And then we can often get yields of between 85 and 90%. So, or in other words, we're only scrapping about 10 or 15% of the raw material that we start out with, which is very low on industry standards. Well, on the So traditionally, you know, people think of cabinet shops and woodworking shops as very dusty and dirty places. Try to do a lot of work to minimize that because it can represent worker health problems. And you don't want to be working in an environment that's very dusty just for a variety of reasons. It creates defects, it affects your breathing, it affects the maintenance of the machines and a variety of other reasons. So we've put in a very large extraction system, and we've identified every source of sawdust that's made in the plant, and we try to get extraction or vacuum, as it were, onto that machine right where it's making the dust. And in this way, it's a many-fold benefit. It collects all the dust into one point, and we can take that to our partner who will use that in the recycling process. So now we're in an area we call wet finish, and several of our product lines use sustainably grown beech hardwood edging on them in conjunction with the laminate. And we got into this business last year when we acquired one of our competitors, Magna Design of Linwood, and they were on a traditional, pretty high VOC solvent-based system. And so one of the criteria in order to bring the production here to Paulsbo was to figure out a way to not introduce new volatile organic compounds into being emitted from our facility. So we went and we worked with Sherwin-Williams, and we got our hands on what's called almost a micro VOC water-based finishing system. And so you still have to put in a spray booth to extract dust and particulates, because we put the finish on with a spray gun, and anytime you spray something out of a gun, you need to have some kind of particulate or extraction in order to meet regulatory requirements. But you can see we're at some various stages of the finishing process. And then we have some final pieces over there where you can see the look and the type of finish you're able to achieve. So here we're at the powder coating operations, and all of our metal finish, all of our steel parts and table legs and things like that, they're all painted using the powder coat process, which is a zero VOC process. So we don't emit anything through a smokestack, and we don't create any harsh chemicals or fume that people have to breathe in order to put the finish on the components. The first step in it that you'll see is what we call steam cleaning. And so we use a process called dry phosphate steam cleaning. We make steam. There's just a mild solution of phosphoric acid that's introduced into it, and then that removes the oil from the steel and gets it ready for the coating process. And one thing you'll also notice is that there's no drains in the floor. So any of the effluent that's collected, we put it in a tote, and we have a partnership with Bainbridge Disposal, and they take and they treat that effluent by removing the oil, neutralizing the acid, removing the phosphorus, and making it safe to put back into the circulation. So the other aspect of the powder coating you'll see on the furnaces, there are some big exhaust stacks, but those are just for the heat of the oven itself, not for fume. And so what we do in the winter time is we can close those valves and use that to heat up the shop, so we don't have to burn any propane. And in the summertime, obviously, we want to open them because things would get quite toasty over in this portion of the factory.
Thanks, Watson, for letting us take a look. You know, they don't waste any materials at all on their floor. And we've also been talking about Built Green in Kitsap County, some Built Green demonstrations. either in commercial or in residential facilities. And the home builders of Kitsap County have been important partners with us on this discussion. Actually, the home builders in Kitsap County started working together in 1996 to put together what was then known as Build a Better Kitsap program. Today it's evolved into Built Green. And what they do is hold themselves to a very high standard of using good building techniques, building energy efficiencies into all of their buildings, but using some of those same qualities in the way that they manage their waste and minimize the amount of waste that is produced on any building site. So when they're doing these buildings, when they're, whether it's the industrial, and in this case they're going to be working on an existing building, or they're also going to be building some brand new residential buildings. In each case, they're going to be helping us with the techniques of energy efficiencies in buildings and in looking at the codes that affect the uses that are allowed or not allowed in those buildings. And one of the things that we've just been talking about most recently is maybe some kind of proper use book so that homeowners or building owners can know how to maintain some of those energy efficiencies so that they are still as effective years after they were installed as they were when they were first installed. But the home builders, as I said, have been great leaders in Build a Better Kitsap, Built Green. They also have been great leaders in the landscape that surrounds their buildings, so that they have really pioneered in Kitsap County the low impact development techniques, so that with all the rain that we have, we're helping water penetrate the surface water runoff that so often is seen around this area, and building rain gardens and parking lots and so forth that help that water penetrate into the ground so that we're not having it standing around. They're helping us with new buildings, existing office buildings, and we're also working with them on a weatherization program. We hope to execute a weatherization program in Kitsap County so that owners of moderate income homes are able to install energy efficiency practices in their home too. We're basing that on the home print program that Puget Sound Energy has produced, so that offers some of the ideas of what you can be doing. It also helps us find some of the certified auditors, energy auditors that can come into homes and evaluate what's happening in the home and make some recommendations about where the best energy efficiencies are and where you can get the most bang for your buck in installing new energy programs. They also offer right now some financial incentives to reduce the upfront costs. And one of the most exciting parts of this whole program is that Kitsap County is partnering with Kitsap Credit Union to introduce some low cost loans, low interest loans for energy effective practices in your home. We're also working with Olympic College and the WorkSource Center to make sure that training and occupations, training and placement opportunities are available for people who want to work in weatherization practices and other energy efficiency professions in Kitsap County. So you can see that we have some wonderful companies in Kitsap County that are making some great strides in innovations that will help us all to understand how to be more energy efficient and reduce our carbon footprints. We hope that we're leading in energy efficiency, demonstrating the energy efficiencies in green building, in low impact development, in clean energy, and in food and farm practices, and secondly, in creating the new partnerships that we need to be even bigger and better than we have been before. So thanks for joining me here at Commissioner Corner today. I look forward to talking to you again next time, and then we're going to talk about Food and Farm Policy Council and some of the wonderful opportunities here in Kitsap. Thanks again for being here.